Good morning and welcome to Sun and Fun. My name is Ron Timmermans. I'm one of the many hosts with the Florida Aviation Network, and we're broadcasting to you live and in the clear from the 45th Annual Sun and Fun International Fly-In and Expo, Lakeland Linder Regional Airport in Lakeland, Florida. And I'm glad you're here with us today. I hope you'll have an opportunity to visit the Sun and Fun campus this week during the Fly-In and Air Show. It's a wonderful place. Many of your friends are here, so you should probably be here as well, and I hope you'll come later this week. We've had a great number of folks that we've been able to interview so far this week, and even more on the list. One of our guests is with us today, and his name is Colonel Luis Garcia, who is the commander of the Florida wing of the Civil Air Patrol. Luis, welcome to our show, and thank you for coming here.
Thank you very much. Very appreciate it.
Good to have you. So, let's see, Luis, I understand you're one of 60,000 Civil Air Patrol members throughout the United States. Tell us about your part of the Civil Air Patrol, if you would, please.
Yeah, we're a great organization. We're the civilian auxiliary of the United States Air Force, made up of all volunteers from all different facets of life, both youth and what we call our senior membership, members that are over 21 years old. Nationwide, we're over 60,000 members. Within Florida, which is a subset of what we call a wing, our wing is comprised of 3,500 members, both cadet and senior, just approximately half senior, half cadet, and we're spread across the entire state with 72 units. So very busy organization, doing a lot of different missions on behalf of the Air Force.
Okay, you mentioned senior and cadet, so there's obviously some distinction there. Is this an age, youth versus more senior, mature people, or what are we talking about here?
It's an age distinction. So we have our cadet members. If you have a young man or woman that would like to join our organization, once they reach the age of 12, they can apply to the organization by going to a local unit, which is a squadron, and they can enroll into our program. A senior member is somebody who is 21 years old or older, and they again, can be from any facet of life and can visit one of our local units and get involved in the program and across any one of our 3 missions, which includes emergency services, cadet programs, and aerospace education.
Oh, so those are the 3 missions that Civil Air Patrol has. Can you tell us a little bit more about each of those, if you would, please?
Absolutely. So those are 3 missions that we have mandated through Congress. The Civil Air Patrol, first and foremost, what we're known for very much is our emergency services, which encompasses a number of missions. First is our search and rescue. CAP has been a vital asset to the Air Force and to the community in conducting search and rescue for missing aircraft. We've been doing that mission for many years. We comprise about 85% of the inland search and rescue in the United States, and we do it through various methods. One is through our aircraft. We will do aerial searches for an overdue airplane. The other one is we have radar and cell phone forensics teams. So when you have a pilot or you have a missing person goes unaccounted for, we have a cell phone forensics team that works with Air Force Rescue Coordination Center to use information from their cell phone for rescue purposes to be able to help locate that, which is a new technology we've been using over the last couple of years. It's been very successful. In fact, it's actually offset our need to launch aircraft at time.
Saving time and resources, I would imagine.
Yes, sir.
Very good.
And then our next mission, our cadet program, is vital. It's our youth and it's our future. Our cadets join the program, like I said, at age 12 and progress through up to age 21, and they have numerous achievements throughout the program, both physical and educational, where they have to test. Number 2, they get an exposure to aerospace and the Air Force and aviation. Very, very strong foundation there. And there is no obligation to join the military when they're done. They can if they are interested in it, and as they progress to the program, they do get an advantage of advanced rank if they join any of the services. But at the end of their service, they don't have to. Additionally, the cadet program today is expanded with the pilot shortage. So one thing that the Air Force has done is they're investing in our cadets, along with Air Force Junior ROTC, in enabling our cadets to seek out private pilot ratings. So if you have a young man or woman that's interested in aviation and would like to fly, we're a great organization to partner with. And additionally, we have other programs within the cadet program, which is Cyber Patriot, which is a competitive for cyber activities, but we're growing in that arena too. And then in our science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So our young men and women get exposed to a wide range within the cadet program to different skill sets that will help them out later in life.
Very good.
And then lastly is our aerospace education. Not only internally to our organization, but externally. So some of the things that we do is we partner with teachers. How do we promote STEM in the grade schools? How do we promote STEM in education? Additionally, we partner with organizations such as your Sun and Fun. Our headquarters is here located on the Sun and Fun campus. We have a unit here on Sun and Fun, and we've done great STEM activities. Most recently too at MacDill Air Force Base. We had an opportunity to reach a large portion of youth here in the Hillsborough County, the local area, of exposing them to science, to the technology, to, hey, how do you broaden your mind? How do you broaden those skill sets? So all three missions are very, very vital, and it keeps us very busy throughout the year.
I'm sure it does. I'm sure it does. So you mentioned that, among other things, young people joining the Civil Air Patrol as cadets could possibly get some assistance with becoming a private pilot. Is there like a scholarship for them, or they compete for a slot in pilot training? How does that all work for a young cadet?
So this year is the first that this program has come into effect, but if they join and they are advancing throughout our cadet program, they can apply for a scholarship for a full private pilot license, and we have partnered either with FBOs across the state or across the country, or with using Civil Air Patrol instructors, Civil Air Patrol aircraft. And our first graduate of this program was a young lady out of Texas, and she was actually featured on the Air Force homepage. So one of our first 62 cadets to get her private pilot license into this program.
That's very good. And have you had any that progressed through the Florida wing yet to private pilots, or is that soon to happen?
Soon to happen. We have 4 in training right now, and we're really ecstatic. One of our young men and women, one right now started in Key West. So he has started his private pilot training, and I have 2 others that are getting ready to commence. So I'm looking forward to hearing the success and the accomplishment of their check ride.
Great. So the competition for these scholarships for young people that are interested in getting their private pilot's license through Civil Air Patrol, very keen competition, or are there a lot of scholarships available?
There are other actually, that's a great question. There are other scholarships. So what we have been doing is a program called Cadet Invest. So first one is our cadets join, they get oriented to the program, and they have a basic encampment they go to. So there has been encampment assistance to go to that. So our young men and women of need have been able to get assistance in that. Then there's other activities, what we call our NCSAs, or our National Cadet Special Activities. Cadet Aviation Ground School, Cyber Academy, just to name a few. And there's scholarships they can apply for that, to be able to go to those different educational academies, some of them lasting from 1 to 3 weeks. And then the top tier is the private pilot rating, the cadet wings. So this is a new opportunity that our young men and women had. Again, I'm ecstatic to see the amount of young men and women applying for it. So
that's great. That's great. Well, there's certainly a wide range of things that you do as a Civil Air Patrol. Of course, one of the things that you're most widely known for is search and rescue missions, and something that is the bane of every pilot, or the fear of every pilot, I suppose, that we go down sometime and want to be found as quickly as we can. If that were to happen to a pilot, Luis, what is the process by which you get involved as Civil Air Patrol, and then what do you do through your mission to ensure success for rescuing someone?
So we, as part of the different agencies that are part of the Search and Rescue Network, we will get a call from Air Force Rescue Coordination Center as part of our alert process, and we have on-call alert personnel. Once we determine where an aircraft may be reported missing, we will start within the time frame to activate aircraft, to start search capability, and start partnering with other agencies, whether it be the local county sheriff's office, the Coast Guard, or other agencies that have assets in the area too. Because what we want to do is get out there as quickly as possible. Now, fortunately, with the 406 megahertz ELTs, that has actually decreased the number of search missions that we've had to accomplish. So technology has helped us in that realm.
How has it decreased? I'm not sure I understand.
It has decreased the number of non-distress beacons we've had to. So we had a lot of, with the 121.5, we would have a lot of inadvertent activations. So at one point in time, we would, 20 years ago, any day of the week, we would have 2 to 3 missions running on non-distress beacons. So that would take those assets and keep them from being ready to respond to an actual missing aircraft.
Right.
So that has helped us out a whole bunch. And the other thing too, if one piece of advice that I would give to our pilot population though, even though the technology's improved, always do your prudence when you are flight planning. Make sure you have a personal survival kit, let somebody know where you're going, make sure your cell phone's charged, because those are all items too that assist us.
Yeah.
Knowing where you're going and telling your family where you're going, that gives us a point of start too.
Exactly. And you also mentioned when we were talking earlier about anytime you land to make sure that you turn your cell phone on so that it pings a signal in the local area. That helps your forensics folks find someone, or at least establish that a pilot was at a particular location at a particular time.
Absolutely, that would be a great piece of advice is you're there, turn it on, make a quick phone call, hey, I've landed. Because again, that gives another data point should we ever have to look for an overdue aircraft.
Very good. And so, so let's say that everything has progressed past the point of you've been able to find someone by pinging their cell phone or talking with relatives or whatever, and you have to go actual launch aircraft to do a search and rescue mission. How does that happen, and how many people are involved in that, Luis?
The scope of the mission could be one airplane to the largest mission I've seen, we had 15 aircraft up in the air. When we are activated for a mission, we will expand depending on how much information, and there's a lot of factors that determine that. But the key thing is that we will do our due diligence and we will do the best that we can as one of the search and rescue organizations. Okay. And we're hand in hand with Air Force Rescue Coordination Center on that situation. So if we need additional assets or additional support, they help us coordinate and reach out for additional. Okay. So like in one case, we had a sheriff's county come in and say, hey, we're going to help you out with our helicopter. So it's a definite interagency cooperative.
Very good. But you would scramble like your local squadron's aircraft asset and volunteers to go do a search and rescue mission?
Yes.
And the like. Okay.
Yeah, we would stand up our incident command post, and it's similar to what we also do in our disaster relief. Sure. For example, in the recent, from Hurricane Matthew to most recently Hurricane Michael, we've been active in our disaster relief side, and that's something similar we'll do too, is as we're receiving taskings, we'll send up an incident command post and we'll use the assets either closest to the event, and we'll expand as necessary to make sure that we are covering the needs of the Air Force and the customers that we're supporting.
Would that be in cooperation then with FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, as well as other government entities that are involved in disaster relief, I would imagine?
Yes, on the disaster relief portion, we work hand in hand with Florida Department of Emergency Management, FEMA, the Air Force. So during Hurricane Michael, for example, we took tens of thousands of images on behalf of FEMA. So that allowed them to do pre and post disaster assessment to be able to say, okay, this is where we need to put our response. And by us doing it as a cost-effective platform and as a resource as choice, it allowed the Air Force and the other Department of Defense elements to move their helicopters and other assets to more vital missions.
Very good, I understand. I want to return to CAP activities in just a bit, Luis, but I want to know a little bit more about you. I understand that you've been involved with CAP for 27 years, and you're also a pilot?
I am, Ron. I'm flight instructor, instrument flight instructor. I've been involved in CAP since 1992. By happenstance, I got recruited into the program. Had just recently got my instrument license, or excuse me, my instrument certificate, and I've really enjoyed the program. I started out with the goal of just working with our cadets and flying aircraft, and I've had the fortune and the opportunity to lead the organization here in Florida, and it's a great organization. I've learned a lot, and it has made me more professional pilot.
I'm sure. Well, that's great. And you lead now 3,500 Civil Air Patrol folks, volunteers in Florida, about a half and half cadets versus seniors. And how many squadrons and groups do you have? I can't recall what you said.
We have 68 squadrons, so those are the local units embedded in the communities. And then the group headquarters are geographic headquarters that cover sections of the state. So it allows us to make sure that we have complete command and control coverage of our units.
Okay.
But our local units are vital. I mean, Our units are part of the community. They make up members from all walks of life, whether it's a cadet or whether it's our senior squadron that tend to focus more on emergency services. What they give back to the community is key. For example, our unit in Charlotte County not only has a very strong cadet program, but does coastal patrols every day on behalf of the county. So they go out and they look at the maritime environments, and it's something that the county pays for in partnership with the Air Force and Civil Air Patrol. Some of the other missions, we support the Department of Defense across the state. So constantly we're doing something that gives back to our local community. Our young men and women, they're constantly involved. When a disaster, many of our young men and women have manned ice distribution stations, shelters, along with some of our other traditional missions.
So far more complex than just the search and rescue that many of us think about when we hear the word Civil Air Patrol. It's good to know that they're involved in so many community activities and furthering and making it for a better society and a place to live in. That's great. So you said, Luis, you had well over 1,000 hours of flying yourself and done some flight instruction?
I have. My last couple of years have been mainly flying in the Civil Air Patrol, which has been very interesting because we have an interesting mix of fleet, mostly single engine because of the resource of choice. Makes us a cost-effective platform. So we have a combination of 172s, 182s, 206s, and a couple gliders too across the nation. Florida has one, and it has given me an opportunity to take the aviation skills I learned in the general aviation industry and then turn around and put it into professional search and rescue and disaster relief. So it has kept me busy and it's taught me a lot.
I'm sure. So you said 68 squadrons, I think, throughout the state of Florida. So how long would it take you to visit each one of those and say, hi, I'm Luis, your commander?
It would probably take me about 2 years visiting every squadron, one squadron a week. We did the math, and so we try. One thing that we do is we try to make sure that we do touch point with all our units. So if it's not myself, it's my vice commander, my chief of staff. But our involvement is just key across the state.
I'm sure. Well, that's good to know that there are so many other things that the Civil Air Patrol does. And so let's see, we talked a little bit about cadets coming in at the age of 12 and progressing up through age 21 as a cadet and then becoming a senior member of the Civil Air Patrol. How about if someone is already past that magic age of 21 and wants to get involved in the Civil Air Patrol? Is there an avenue for them to get in and make a difference and provide some assistance and help with the Civil Air Patrol?
Oh, absolutely. And in both areas, what I would recommend to anybody that is interested in Civil Air Patrol, for the national website, our website is gocivilairpatrol.com, or locally for the Florida wing, it's flwg.us. And I would recommend that either a youth member or a potential senior member that wants to join visit one of the two websites. Our senior members, a huge range of areas. So you can be involved in the aviation side, not only as a pilot, but as an air crew member. We also are looking for members to help man our units. So you can work directly with the cadets, or you can work again with our different emergency service or aerospace education missions. Some of our members are teachers, so they're heavily involved in our aerospace education. And then we have other areas such as communications. We're always looking for professional communicators and personnel that want to learn communications. In fact, out here in our ramp is our response comm trailer, which is helping support the activity out here.
That's here on campus at Sun and Fun this week.
They are. And we have a couple teams that are here prepped to do the ELT ground searches. So those are areas that members can get involved in. We still do even though it's less, we still get to do non-distress now and then. Cyber is another area. Our cadets are involved in the Cyber Patriot, but that's somewhere that Civil Air Patrol is looking, is that an area that we can get involved in the future. And one other area too that CAP is looking at is unmanned aerial systems. So we're looking at small UAS. How do we incorporate small UAS into our missions? We do it right now in our science, technology, engineering, mathematics, in our STEM areas, but we're also looking at can we do it in our disaster relief and search and rescue. So that's something emerging too. So if you don't have to be a pilot to be part of the organization.
That's good to know. So if you're interested in the Civil Air Patrol or have always been wondering about it and you think, well, I'm not a pilot or I don't wish to be a pilot, I don't fit there, there's probably a fit for you in the Civil Air Patrol. And I'm glad you mentioned this unmanned aerial systems, drones as we come to know them. Just earlier today I was able to I interviewed two young men from the local drone club, and they were talking about their operations doing practice search and rescue in competition. And I would imagine that would be an asset that the Civil Air Patrol has been and is now looking at integrating into their systems. So I could imagine that would save a lot of resources if you could launch a drone and do somewhat of the same thing you could do with an in-person thing. Not exactly the same, I understand, but at least to give you some relief there, so that would be great. Well, Louis, it's been great to interview you today and talk with you about the Civil Air Patrol and your mission. Thank you very much for your service to our country in the Army and the Air Force, and now with the Civil Air Patrol, you're certainly making a difference for those of us that are involved in aviation, and you're an inspiration, I'm sure, to the cadets that serve under you and all the folks that work with you in the Florida wing of the Civil Air Patrol. Our guest today has been Colonel Luis Garcia with the Civil Air Patrol, and I am Ron Timmermans, one of the hosts with the Florida Aviation Network. It's been my delight to be with you and with Louis in the last few minutes to discuss the Civil Air Patrol. We are broadcasting live and in the clear from the 45th Annual Sun and Fun Fly-In and Expo in Lakeland, Florida. And we hope to see you back at another of our interviews. Until then, blue skies and tailwinds.